So here's the thing about patterns. Once you notice them, you can't stop seeing them. And mine was supposed to keep me safe. 3 knocks. Always 3 knocks before something bad happened. I'm not talking about superstition or paranoia. I mean actual physical knocks that I'd hear right before my life went sideways. 3 knocks before my mom called to tell me dad died. 3 knocks before I got fired from my first real job. 3 knocks the night before my apartment building caught fire. Knock, knock, knock. After a while, you start listening for them. You start preparing. And honestly, it helped. I'd hear those knocks, and I'd know to brace myself. Cancel plans, stay home, wait for the other shoe to drop. My therapist said it was just pattern recognition gone haywire, that my brain was creating false correlations to cope with random tragedy. She prescribed me something to help with the anxiety. I stopped taking the pills after 2 weeks, because here's what she didn't understand. The knocks were never wrong. Last Tuesday started normal enough. I woke up at 6:30, made coffee, scrolled through my phone while my girlfriend Emma got ready for work. We'd been together for 8 months, and she'd just started talking about moving in together. Real future stuff. The kind of conversations that used to terrify me but now just felt right. Emma asked if I was coming to dinner at her parents' place on Saturday. I told her I wouldn't miss it, even though meeting parents still made my palms sweat. She kissed me on her way out, tasting like mint toothpaste and coffee. She said she loved me. I said I loved her too. The door clicked shut, and I sat there in the quiet apartment, feeling something I hadn't felt in years. Content, maybe even happy. That should have been my first warning. I worked from home most days, doing data analysis for a marketing firm. Boring work, but it paid well and let me avoid commutes. I'd just settled into my morning routine. Second coffee, opening my laptop, queuing up a playlist. That's when I heard it, knock, knock, knock. My hands froze over the keyboard. The sound had come from my front door, but it wasn't a normal knock. Too deliberate, too evenly spaced, each one exactly 2 seconds apart. I waited, barely breathing, for something to happen, for my phone to ring with bad news, for a text message, for anything. Nothing came. 5 minutes passed, then 10. I finally convinced myself to check the door, half expecting to find someone standing there with a telegram about a dead relative or a subpoena or something equally catastrophic. The hallway was empty. No neighbors, no delivery person, nothing. I went back inside and tried to focus on work, but my concentration was shot. I kept glancing at my phone, waiting for it to ring, checked my email every few minutes, refreshed my news apps looking for disasters. By noon, I was exhausted from the adrenaline. Nothing had happened. No emergencies, no tragedies. Maybe my therapist had been right after all. Maybe I'd just imagined the knocks, or they'd been from a neighbor's door. Then it happened again. Knock, knock, knock. This time I was sure. 3 knocks, same rhythm, same deliberate spacing, coming from my front door. I was across the room in seconds, yanking the door open. Empty hallway. Again. But this time I noticed something, a wet spot on my doormat. 3 small puddles, each about the size of a quarter, arranged in a perfect line. I crouched down and touched one. My finger came away red. Blood. Fresh blood. My heart started hammering. I looked up and down the hallway, but there was no one. No trail, just those 3 drops on my doormat already starting to dry at the edges. I should have called the police.
That's what a normal person would do, but I was too busy trying to figure out what disaster was coming. Because the knocks were never wrong. Something bad was about to happen. I just had to figure out what. I spent the afternoon in a state of hypervigilance. Called Emma 3 times to make sure she was okay. She was fine, just annoyed that I kept interrupting her meetings. Texted my mom. She was fine too, out shopping with her sister. Called my brother. Fine. Everyone was fine. But the knocks had happened. Twice. Which meant something was coming. By evening, I'd work myself into a state of near panic. Emma came home to find me pacing the apartment, checking my phone every 30 seconds. Emma asked what was wrong, dropping her bag by the door. I tried to explain about the knocks, about the blood, about how something bad was definitely going to happen. She listened with that expression people get when they're trying to be supportive, but think you're losing it. She pointed out that there was no blood on the doormat now. She was right. The spots were gone. Either they'd dried completely or I'd imagined them. Emma suggested I call Dr. Morrison. Get back on the medication, just for a little while. I wanted to argue, but she looked so worried that I just nodded. Maybe she was right. Maybe I was spiraling. Maybe the knocks were all in my head and I needed help. We ordered Thai food and watched a movie, and by the time we went to bed, I'd almost convinced myself that everything was fine, that I'd overreacted, that my pattern recognition really was just anxiety playing tricks on me. I woke up at 3:47 a.m. to complete silence. Emma wasn't in bed. I called out her name, my voice rough with sleep. No answer. I found her standing in the living room facing the front door, just standing there in her pajamas, completely still. I asked if she was okay. She didn't turn around, didn't acknowledge me at all. I called her name again. I walked closer, and that's when I heard it. A soft sound, barely audible. Someone was knocking on the door. But not from the outside. The knocks were coming from inside the door itself, from within the wood. Knock, knock, knock. Emma's head tilted slightly like she was listening. I told her to step away from the door. She didn't move. I grabbed her shoulder, and she was cold. Ice cold, like she'd been standing outside in winter. I told her she was scaring me, asked her to come back to bed. Finally, she turned to look at me. Her eyes were open, but she wasn't seeing me. She was looking through me at something behind me. She whispered that they were here. I asked who was here. She said the ones who knock. My blood went cold. I asked what she was talking about. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was louder now, more insistent. And it wasn't just coming from the door anymore. It was coming from the walls, the floor, the ceiling. I told Emma we needed to leave. Right now. She smiled, and it was the wrongest thing I'd ever seen. She said I couldn't leave, that I'd been listening for them my whole life, that they'd been listening back. Knock, knock, knock. The sound was everywhere now, surrounding us. I grabbed Emma's arm and tried to pull her toward the bedroom, but she wouldn't budge. She was impossibly heavy, like she'd been bolted to the floor. She asked if I didn't understand, said the pattern was never a warning. It was a summons. Every time I heard the knocks, every time I braced myself and waited, I was answering. I was saying yes. Knock, knock, knock. I was shouting now over the sound of knocking that seemed to come from inside my own skull. I asked yes to what? She said yes to them, to us. She reached out and touched my face with her frozen fingers. She said they'd been so patient, waiting for me to invite them in. And I had, every single time I listened, every time I paid attention, every time I believed. The knocking stopped. The silence was somehow worse. Emma said the pattern was real, speaking softly, but I'd gotten it backwards. The knocks didn't predict bad things. The knocks made bad things happen. And now I'd heard them so many times, answered them so many times, that they didn't need the door anymore. I tried to back away, but my legs wouldn't move. I looked down and saw that my feet were sinking into the floor, not through it, into it, like the floor was made of something liquid and dark that was slowly pulling me down. I managed to ask what she was. She said they were what comes after the third knock. Except it wasn't Emma's voice anymore. It was multiple voices, layered on top of each other, speaking in perfect unison. She said they were what I'd been inviting in my whole life. And now that I'd finally let them all the way in, they could show me what comes next. I was waist deep in the floor now. The darkness was cold and thick like oil, and it was pulling me down faster. I begged her to stop, said I didn't know, I didn't understand. The thing wearing Emma's face said I did, that some part of me always knew. That's why I kept listening. That's why I could never ignore the pattern. Because I was theirs from the very first knock. The last thing I saw before the darkness pulled me under was Emma's face splitting open like a door. Behind it was an infinite hallway filled with doors. And behind every door I could hear it. Knock, 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 knock. Thousands of them. Millions. All knocking in perfect rhythm. All waiting to be answered. I woke up in my bed at 6:30 a.m. Emma was beside me, sleeping peacefully. Sunlight streamed through the curtains. Everything looked normal. For a moment, I let myself believe it had been a nightmare, just a stress dream brought on by anxiety and lack of sleep. Then I heard Emma's alarm go off. She stirred, rolled over, and smiled at me. She said, "Good morning." I replied, "Good morning," my voice shaking. She got up and headed to the bathroom. I heard the shower turn on. Everything was normal. Everything was fine. Except when I looked down at my hands, I could see through them. Just barely, like I was becoming translucent. And from somewhere very far away, or maybe from very deep inside me, I could hear it. Knock, knock, knock. It's been 3 weeks now. Emma hasn't noticed anything wrong. Neither has anyone else. I go to work. I eat meals. I have conversations. I do everything a normal person does. But I'm fading a little more each day, becoming more transparent, more hollow. And the knocking never stops. It's always there, just at the edge of my hearing. Sometimes I think I can hear other voices mixed in with it. People calling for help. People who listen to their own patterns for too long. I tried to warn my mom yesterday. Told her if she ever hears 3 knocks, to ignore them, to run. She just laughed and said I was being silly. That I've always had an overactive imagination. Maybe she's right. Maybe I'm just losing my mind. But last night I heard her on the phone with my brother, and she mentioned that she's been hearing this weird knocking sound in her house lately. 3 knocks, always in the middle of the night. She said it's probably just the pipes. I didn't correct her, because here's what I've learned. The pattern is real. The knocks are real, and once you start listening, really listening, they never let you stop. I'm writing this down as a warning. Even though I know it won't matter. If you're reading this, you're already looking for patterns, already trying to make sense of the chaos, already listening for the knocks. And if you hear them, when you hear them, you'll do exactly what I did. You'll pay attention. You'll try to prepare. You'll answer, because that's what we do. We're pattern-seeking creatures. We can't help ourselves. Just remember when you hear those 3 knocks that I tried to warn you. And remember that the knocks are never wrong. They're just not warning you about what you think. Knock, knock, knock.